Picture this. A man wakes at dawn. He tells himself, today will be different. Today he will save money. Today he will invest. Today he will build the future he dreams of. He feels the surge of determination in his chest, that familiar fire of resolution. He makes coffee with intention. He opens his banking app with purpose. And then, life happens. An unexpected expense. A moment of weakness. A friend's invitation. A sale he cannot resist. By evening, the fire has dimmed to ash. Tomorrow, he tells himself, tomorrow I will be stronger. And tomorrow comes. And the cycle repeats. This is not a story about one man. This is the story of millions. Perhaps it is your story too. We live in an age obsessed with motivation. We scroll through feeds filled with rising sun quotes and clenched fists and words that promise transformation through sheer force of will. Stay hungry, they tell us. Grind harder. No excuses. The self-help industrial complex has built an empire on a single seductive lie, that success is simply a matter of wanting it badly enough, that wealth is waiting on the other side of sufficient desire. But here is what they do not tell you. Motivation is a weather system, not a climate. It is the lightning that illuminates the sky for one brilliant moment before surrendering to darkness again. It is beautiful. It is powerful. But it is not. It cannot be the foundation upon which you build a life of abundance. Tonight, we gather here not to worship at the altar of motivation, but to discover something far more profound, something that the truly wealthy have known for centuries but rarely speak aloud. We are here to explore the invisible architecture that transforms ordinary people into automatic millionaires. We are here to understand why systems triumph where willpower fails. We are here to decode the psychological mechanisms that make wealth inevitable rather than accidental. This is not a seminar about finance. This is an expedition into the deepest chambers of human behavior. This is about understanding how the mind works, and then designing a life that works with the mind, not against it. Over the next 2 hours, we will travel through 5 landscapes. First, we will journey to the origins, to understand why our brains evolved to resist the very behaviors that create wealth, and why the modern world has created a perfect storm of financial self-sabotage. Then, we will descend into the conflict, the brutal, honest examination of why you have failed before, why motivation betrays you, and why willpower is a currency that depletes faster than you can replenish it. Next, we will discover the transformation, the psychological breakthrough that separates those who dream of wealth from those who inevitably achieve it. We will explore the neuroscience of habit formation, the mathematics of compound automation, and the philosophy of decision removal. We will then build the blueprint, translating theory into practice, psychology into systems, understanding into action. And finally, we will return, transformed, equipped, ready, to the life waiting for you beyond this moment. But before we begin, I need you to understand something crucial. This speech will challenge you, not with complexity, but with simplicity, not with demands for superhuman discipline, but with an invitation to embrace your beautifully flawed humanity. The path to automatic wealth is not about becoming a different person. It is about becoming a person with different systems. You see, there is a question that haunts the field of behavioral economics, a question that has consumed the minds of psychologists and philosophers for generations. Why do intelligent people, people who understand the math, who know the principles, who can articulate the strategies, still fail to build wealth? The answer is not stupidity. It is not laziness. It is not lack of information. The answer is architecture. Your financial life is not determined by your knowledge. It is determined by your structure, by the systems that operate whether you are motivated or exhausted, inspired or depressed, confident or afraid. The wealthy do not have stronger discipline. They have better systems. They do not make better decisions. They make fewer decisions. And tonight, we will learn how to build those systems, How to create a financial life that runs on autopilot while you focus on the things that actually matter, your purpose, your relationships, your art, your joy. Consider this. Every breath you take is automatic. Your heart beats approximately 100,000 times per day without a single conscious command from you. Your immune system fights off invasions you will never know occurred. Your digestive system transforms food into energy without requiring your supervision. Your body is a masterpiece of automated systems, and it has been keeping you alive since the moment of your birth without asking for your motivation. What if your wealth could operate the same way? What if saving was as automatic as breathing? What if investing was as inevitable as your heartbeat? What if building a fortune required no more conscious effort than your body requires to digest food? This is not fantasy. This is the reality inhabited by the automatic millionaire. And the most beautiful part? The most profound, liberating, revolutionary part? You do not need to be brilliant to become one. You do not need to be disciplined. You do not need to be motivated. You need to be systematic. So let me ask you, and I want you to feel this question in your bones, not just process it in your mind. Are you ready to stop trying to become a person who is motivated to build wealth, and instead become a person who has automated the building of wealth? The difference between those two paths is the difference between exhaustion and ease, between failure and inevitability, between a lifetime of financial stress and a life of quiet, compound prosperity. Take a breath. We are about to begin. Welcome to the architecture of inevitability. Welcome to the automatic millionaire. The ancient brain in a modern trap. To understand why you need systems, you must first understand why motivation fails. And to understand why motivation fails, we must travel back, far back, to a time before money existed, before civilization rose, before the very concept of wealth had entered human consciousness. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine. You are standing on the African savanna 200,000 years ago. The sun is setting, painting the horizon in shades of amber and blood. You are hungry. You have been hungry for 3 days. And then you see it, a tree heavy with fruit, ripe, abundant, more than you could eat in a single sitting. What does your brain tell you to do? Eat. Eat now. Eat everything. Because tomorrow the tree might be bare, tomorrow the fruit might be gone, tomorrow you might be dead. The brain that evolved on that savanna had a simple, brilliant strategy. Consume surplus when you encounter it, because scarcity is the default state of existence. This is the origin story of your relationship with money. That ancient brain, that beautiful, life-preserving, pattern-recognizing miracle that kept your ancestors alive for millennia, still sits inside your skull. It still issues commands, it still makes decisions, and it has absolutely no idea that you live in 2025. When you receive a paycheck, that ancient brain does not see income, it sees surplus, and it whispers, consume it, enjoy it, use it now, because who knows what tomorrow brings. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is evolutionary biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is not your brain. The problem is the mismatch between the environment your brain evolved for and the environment you actually inhabit. Let me paint you another picture. Throughout 99.9% of human history, there was no such thing as delayed gratification leading to compound returns. If you found meat, you ate it or it rotted. If you found shelter, you used it or someone else claimed it. The future was unknowable and uncontrollable. The present was all you had. But then, in the blink of evolutionary time, everything changed. We created agriculture. We created currency. We created banks and interest rates and investment vehicles. We created a world where money you do not spend today can multiply into abundance tomorrow. We created compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world, as Einstein allegedly called it. And we expected brains that evolved for immediate consumption to suddenly master delayed gratification. It is like taking a fish that evolved for swimming and asking it to climb a tree. It is not the fish's fault when it fails. This is the first truth you must internalize. Your financial struggles are not moral failures. They are architectural failures. Now, let us travel forward in time, to the 20th century, to the birth of what we now call personal finance. For most of human history, wealth building was not a personal responsibility. You were born into a class. You inherited a trade. Your economic fate was largely predetermined. But the rise of the middle class, the decline of pensions, the shift from defined benefits to defined contributions, all of this transferred the burden of wealth creation from institutions to individuals. Suddenly, everyone was supposed to be their own financial planner, their own investment manager, their own retirement architect. It was like asking everyone to become their own surgeon, their own lawyer, their own engineer. And what did the financial industry offer as a solution? Motivation, education, information. They gave you books about budgeting, seminars about investing, apps to track your spending. And they said, now you know what to do, now go do it. But knowing is not doing. Understanding is not implementing. Awareness is not action. This is where the motivation myth was born. The self-help gurus emerged, promising that if you just wanted it badly enough, if you just visualized hard enough, if you just believed with sufficient intensity, wealth would manifest. They sold you on the idea that the obstacle was internal, that you simply needed to become more disciplined, more motivated, more committed. And when you failed, as most people do, you blamed yourself. You internalized the failure. You thought, I am not strong enough. I am not disciplined enough. I am not worthy enough. But let me tell you what was actually happening. You were being asked to override millions of years of evolutionary programming with nothing but conscious willpower. You were being asked to fight your biology with your intentions. You were being asked to win a battle that neuroscience tells us is unwinnable. Research in psychology has consistently demonstrated a phenomenon called ego depletion. Your willpower is not a character trait. It is a finite resource. Every decision you make, every impulse you resist, every temptation you overcome, it draws from the same limited pool of cognitive energy. By the time you get home from work, after you have navigated traffic, responded to emails, made dozens of micro-decisions, resisted countless small temptations, your willpower tank is nearly empty. And then we expect you to open your banking app, calculate optimal savings rates, research investment options, and execute financial discipline? It is absurd. It is cruel. It is destined to fail. The automatic millionaire understands this. The automatic millionaire does not try to strengthen their willpower. They build systems that require no willpower at all. Let me introduce you to someone, a real person, though her name has been changed. Let us call her Maria. Maria was a teacher. She earned $52,000 per year. She was not brilliant with money. She was not particularly disciplined. She did not spend her evenings reading financial journals or watching market news. But Maria became a millionaire by age 58. How? On her first day of teaching, she signed up for automatic payroll deduction. 15% of every paycheck went directly into her retirement account before she ever saw it. She never touched it. She never thought about it. She forgot it existed. 27 years later, when she logged into her account to prepare for retirement, she discovered she had accumulated $1.3 million. Same years, same market, same opportunities available to everyone else. But Maria had something most people never create, a system that operated independently of her motivation. Now compare Maria to another person. Let us call him David. David earned $120,000 per year. He read every finance book. He could explain the difference between growth stocks and value stocks. He understood tax loss harvesting. He had spreadsheets tracking his net worth. He was motivated, educated, and intelligent. At age 58, David had $180,000 saved. What separated Maria from David was not knowledge. It was not intelligence. It was not even income. It was architecture. Maria built a system that made saving inevitable. David relied on motivation that made saving impossible. This pattern repeats itself across every economic class, every education level, every culture. The research is overwhelming. Automated savers accumulate between 10 and 15 times more wealth than manual savers, even when controlling for income. Why? Because automation removes the two greatest obstacles to wealth building. First, it removes decision fatigue. You never have to decide to save. The decision was made once, long ago, and now it executes forever. Second, it removes emotional interference. You never see the money. You never feel the loss. Your lifestyle adjusts to your post-automation income, and within weeks, you do not even notice the difference. This is the psychological genius of automation. It works with human nature instead of against it. But here is where it gets even more interesting, even more profound. Because the story of automation is not just a story about money. It is a story about identity. Every financial decision you make is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. When you choose to save manually, you are voting for the identity of person who has to try hard. When you automate, you are voting for the identity of person who is wealthy by default. The automatic millionaire does not become wealthy and then create systems. They create systems and thereby become wealthy. The architecture creates the identity. The structure shapes the self. This is why trying to motivate yourself into wealth is backwards. You are trying to generate behavior from identity, but identity is generated by behavior, and behavior is generated by systems. So let me ask you something. Who are you trying to become? Are you trying to become someone with superhuman discipline? Someone who can override their biology, resist every temptation, and maintain perfect financial execution despite the chaos of life? Or are you ready to become someone whose wealth grows automatically, who has designed a financial life that requires no heroic effort, who has built systems so elegant that wealth is not an achievement, but an inevitability? The choice seems obvious, but most people choose the first path. Why? Because we are addicted to the narrative of struggle. We believe that anything worth having must be hard won. We worship at the altar of effort. We think that if wealth comes too easily, we have somehow cheated, somehow failed to earn it properly. This is the final illusion we must shatter. Ease is not the opposite of worthiness. Ease is the evidence of wisdom. The automatic millionaire is not lazy. They are strategic. They have studied the terrain of human psychology and built a path that follows the natural contours of how the mind actually works. In the next act, we will descend into the valley of conflict, into the honest, sometimes painful examination of why you have failed before, and why the old methods will always fail. We will confront the illusions, face the wounds, and prepare the ground for transformation. But before we move forward, I want you to understand something. You are not broken. Your brain is not defective. Your struggles are not evidence of inadequacy. You have simply been using tools designed for a world that no longer exists, trying to solve a modern problem with ancient equipment. The automatic millionaire is not a different species. They are simply a person who has updated their architecture to match their era. And that update, that transformation, begins now. Now we descend into the shadow. Every transformation story requires a confrontation with failure. Every hero's journey passes through a valley where illusions shatter and comfortable lies crumble into truth. This is that valley. This is where we face the ghosts that have haunted your financial life. And the first ghost, the most persistent, the most seductive, is the ghost of motivation. Let me tell you what happens when you rely on motivation to build wealth. January 1st arrives. You feel the surge. This year will be different. You create a budget in a spreadsheet, color-coded and beautiful. You download 3 finance apps. You watch YouTube videos about investing. You feel powerful, capable, transformed. Week 1. You track every expense. You pack lunches. You skip the coffee shop. You feel like a warrior of fiscal responsibility. Week 2. Your tracking becomes less rigorous. You forget to log a few purchases, but you're still doing okay, still on track. Week 3. You have a stressful day. You deserve a reward. Just this once. It is not a big deal. Week 4. The budget feels restrictive. The tracking feels exhausting. The whole endeavor feels like a punishment. You tell yourself you will get back on track next month. February 1st. The apps remain on your phone, unopened. The spreadsheet sits on your desktop, a monument to good intentions. The motivation that felt so real, so permanent, has evaporated like morning mist. Does this story sound familiar? It should. Because it is the story of approximately 92% of people who set financial New Year's resolutions. It is the story of every fresh start that fizzles. It is the story of motivation meeting reality and losing. But here is what is actually happening in your brain during this process, and this is where it gets fascinating. When you first feel motivated, your brain releases dopamine. This neurotransmitter is not actually about pleasure, as commonly believed. Dopamine is about anticipation. It floods your system when you imagine a desired future state. Starting a budget triggers dopamine because you are imagining yourself financially free, debt-free, wealthy. But here is the problem. Dopamine depletes when the imagined future fails to materialize quickly enough. Your brain expects rewards on the timeline of evolution, immediate or near immediate. It does not understand that wealth builds slowly, that compound interest operates over decades, that the payoff for today's sacrifice might not arrive for 30 years. So the dopamine fades, and when it fades, motivation disappears with it. This is not a character flaw. This is neurochemistry. Now the motivational gurus will tell you, push through, be disciplined, develop grit. And sure, some people can do this. Some people have the neurological wiring, the life circumstances, the support systems, or the personality traits that allow them to maintain discipline despite dopamine depletion. But most cannot. And more importantly, most should not have to. Let me share something that might anger the discipline evangelists. The need for constant discipline is a design flaw, not a virtue. If your financial system requires you to be constantly motivated, constantly disciplined, constantly vigilant, your system is broken. Full stop. Imagine if your car required you to manually time every spark plug ignition. Technically possible? Sure. Practical? Absurd. That is what manual financial management is, a system that demands superhuman attention to keep running. The automatic millionaire does not eliminate the car. They simply install an automatic ignition system. Now let us explore the second ghost, the ghost of decision fatigue. Every day, you make thousands of decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which route to take to work, how to respond to that email, whether to attend that meeting, which task to tackle first. Each decision, even tiny ones, depletes your cognitive resources. Researchers at Cornell University found that the average person makes 226, 7 decisions per day about food alone. 226 decisions before you even consider your finances. By the time you sit down to make smart financial choices, your decision-making capacity is already exhausted. You are trying to make one of the most important choices of your day, how to allocate your money, with whatever fumes remain in your cognitive tank. This is why you know you should save, but you order takeout instead. This is why you understand investing, but you scroll social media instead. This is why you have all the knowledge but cannot execute the action. You are not weak. You are tired. And being tired is not a moral failure. It is a biological reality. The automatic millionaire understands this, so they make financial decisions when their cognitive resources are full, ideally once when setting up the system. After that, no more decisions needed. The system runs, the wealth grows, the brain rests. Let me introduce you to a concept from psychology called decision architecture. Decision architecture is the art of designing choices so that the right option is the default option. The classic example is organ donation. In countries where organ donation is opt-out, You are automatically a donor unless you explicitly decline. Donation rates exceed 90%. In countries where it is opt-in, you must actively choose to become a donor. Rates hover around 15%. Same people, same cultural values, different architecture, radically different outcomes. Your financial life operates on the same principle. When saving is opt-in, when you have to actively, repeatedly choose to transfer money to savings. It rarely happens. When saving is opt-out, when money automatically goes to savings unless you actively stop it, it almost always happens. This is not about willpower. This is about architecture. Now let us confront the third ghost, the ghost of complexity. The financial industry has created a labyrinth of complexity that serves one primary purpose: to make you feel inadequate, so you will hire experts. They have turned the simple act of building wealth into a PhD-level endeavor that requires understanding of tax codes, market dynamics, asset allocation strategies, rebalancing methodologies, and 100 other concepts that should be irrelevant to most people. Here is the truth they do not want you to know. Building wealth is simple. The industry makes it complex to justify its existence. You do not need to understand options trading. You do not need to analyze earnings reports. You do not need to time the market or pick winning stocks or understand macroeconomic trends. You need to do three things. 1. Spend less than you earn. 2. Automatically invest the difference. 3. Do this for decades. That is it. That is the entire formula. Everything else is noise designed to convince you that you need help you do not actually need. The automatic millionaire strips away the complexity. They create a system so simple a child could understand it, and then they let that simple system run for 30 years while they focus on living their life. But there is a deeper ghost haunting your relationship with wealth, a ghost we rarely discuss, but which might be the most powerful of all. Let me call it the ghost of identity. Answer this honestly. Who do you believe you are in relationship to money? Are you someone who is not good with money? Someone for whom wealth just is not in the cards? Someone who comes from a family that never had money? These identity stories, these narratives we tell ourselves about who we are, become prison walls more impenetrable than any external circumstance. I worked with a man once, successful engineer, brilliant mind, who could not save money despite earning 6 figures. When we explored his psychology, we discovered that his father had been obsessed with money, had prioritized wealth over family, had chosen work over presence. And so this man had unconsciously created an identity that said, caring about money makes you a bad person. Accumulating wealth makes you your father. His spending was not carelessness. It was an act of psychological self-preservation. It was his way of proving he was not his father. Until he confronted that ghost, until he recognized that he could be wealthy and present, successful and loving, financially secure and morally good, no amount of budgeting or motivation could help him. What ghost stories are you telling yourself? Perhaps you believe wealthy people are greedy, so becoming wealthy would make you greedy. And you are not greedy, so you sabotage your own success. Perhaps you believe struggling financially makes you authentic, so prosperity feels like betrayal of your roots. Perhaps you believe you do not deserve wealth, so you find ways to ensure you never achieve it. These are not rational beliefs, but the human mind is not a rational instrument. It is a story-generating machine, and the stories we tell about ourselves become the reality we inhabit. The automatic millionaire does not have a different story. They have simply realized that the story can be edited. They decide, I am someone whose wealth grows automatically. Not I am trying to become someone who saves. Not I wish I were someone who invests. But I am that person, right now, as a statement of identity, not aspiration. And then they build the system that makes that identity true. This is the alchemy of automation. The system creates the identity, and the identity reinforces the system. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, but in the direction of abundance rather than scarcity. Now, let me share with you the most painful ghost of all, the ghost of lost time. Perhaps you are listening to this and thinking, I am too old. I started too late. I wasted too many years. If only I had known this when I was 25, when I was 30, when I still had time. Let me tell you about Grace. Grace was 57 years old when she finally automated her finances. She had $8,000 in savings. She was facing retirement in 8 years with nothing but Social Security to look forward to. She felt like a failure, like she had squandered her one chance at financial security. But Grace did something profound. She stopped mourning the past and started designing the future. She automated $500 per month into a low-cost index fund, just $500, 15% of her post-tax income. 8 years later, when she retired at 65, Grace had $87,000. Not a fortune, not enough to retire in luxury. But combined with Social Security and a part-time consulting gig she actually enjoyed, it was enough to live with dignity, with choice, with freedom from desperation. More importantly, Grace transformed her relationship with herself. She was no longer someone who was bad with money. She was someone who had built a system, someone who had taken action, someone who had proven that it is never too late to change the architecture of your life. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. This is true for wealth. This is true for systems. This is true for transformation. But here is where the conflict reaches its deepest point, where we must confront the most fundamental question. Why do we resist the very thing that would free us? Why do we avoid automating our finances when we know it works? Why do we cling to manual management when we know it fails? Why do we choose the path of greater resistance, greater effort, greater likelihood of failure? The answer lies in a phenomenon psychologists call the illusion of control. We believe that if we are actively managing our money, checking balances, moving funds, making decisions, we are in control. Automation feels like surrender. It feels like we are abdicating responsibility, putting our financial life on cruise control while we should be vigilantly steering. But this is backwards. Manual management is not control. It is chaos. It is the illusion of control, while actually being at the mercy of every emotional fluctuation, every circumstantial challenge, every moment of weakness or exhaustion. Automation is true control. It is the implementation of your values when you are at your most clear-headed, your most rational, your most aligned with your future self, and then trusting that implementation to execute even when you are cloudy, emotional, exhausted. The automatic millionaire is not passive. They are strategic. They control by designing rather than by doing. They steer by setting direction rather than by constant adjustment. Think of it this way. A manual transmission gives you more moment-to-moment control over your car, but an automatic transmission gets most people to their destination more efficiently, more safely, more pleasantly. The control you surrender is the control you never needed. The control you retain is the control that actually matters, choosing the destination. So here we stand, at the bottom of the valley. We have confronted the ghosts, motivation's futility, decision fatigue's inevitability, complexity's deception, identity's prison walls, time's cruelty, and control's illusion. And now we are ready for the transformation. Because you cannot build something new until you have cleared away what is not working. You cannot create space for wisdom until you have released the illusions. You cannot step into a new identity until you have seen through the old one. The conflict is necessary. The valley is the path. And on the other side lies the architecture of inevitability. Let us climb toward the light. This is where everything changes, not because I will give you secret information, not because you will suddenly become more disciplined, but because you will understand deeply, viscerally, irrevocably, that you do not need to be different. You need to build differently. The transformation begins with a single revolutionary insight. You are not the hero of the wealth-building story. The system is the hero. This inverts everything you have been taught. This contradicts every motivational speech, every self-help book, every guru's promise. And this is precisely why it works. Let me paint you a picture of what automatic wealth actually looks like. You wake up on a Tuesday. It is not January 1st. It is not a special occasion. It is just Tuesday. You drink your coffee. You go to work. You have a frustrating meeting. You eat lunch. You scroll your phone. You come home tired. You watch a show. You go to sleep. And while you were living this ordinary day, something extraordinary happened. Money flowed automatically from your checking account to your savings. Money flowed automatically to your investment account. Money flowed automatically to your retirement fund. Your wealth grew automatically. You did not make a single financial decision. You did not exercise a single moment of discipline. You did not check your balances or move your money or resist any temptation. Your wealth grew on a Tuesday because the system you built, perhaps months ago, perhaps years ago, continued to execute, like your heart beating, like your lungs breathing, like the earth rotating. This is the transformation from effort to architecture, from heroics to humility, from trying to being. Now let me show you how to build this architecture, and we will start with the foundational principle that changes everything. Pay yourself first, not last. First. Here is how most people handle money. They receive income, they pay their bills, they buy their groceries, they enjoy their entertainment, they cover their expenses, and then, if anything remains, they save it. This is called pay yourself last. And mathematically, psychologically, practically, it guarantees failure. Why? Because there is always something to spend money on. There is always another expense. There is always a reason why this month, just this month, you cannot save. The money that might have become your future is spent on your present and your future self. That version of you who desperately needs compound growth never receives a vote. Pay yourself first inverts this. The moment money enters your checking account, before you pay a single bill, before you buy a single thing, a predetermined percentage automatically transfers to your future, to savings, to investments, to wealth, and then, and only then, do you pay bills and buy groceries and fund your life from what remains. This is not deprivation. This is prioritization. This is making sure your future self gets a seat at the table before your present self has eaten all the food. Let me show you the mathematics of this. Imagine two people, both earning $50,000 per year. Person A decides to save whatever is left at the end of the month. They have good intentions. They are not wasteful. But life happens. Between rent and groceries and utilities and car repairs and small indulgences, they average $100 per month in savings. Person B automates 15% to savings, $625 per month, before they see the money. 30 years later, assuming a 7% average return, Person A has accumulated $122,000. Person B has accumulated $758,000. Same time frame, same market, same opportunities, but Person B has 6 times more wealth. This is not because Person B was more disciplined. This is because Person B had a better system. And here is the beautiful part. After 2 months, Person B does not even notice the difference. Their lifestyle adjusts. Their spending contracts to fit their post-automation income. Their brain recalibrates normal to match their new reality. Within weeks, the sacrifice feels like no sacrifice at all. This is the psychological magic of paying yourself first. It does not feel like deprivation because the money never enters your conscious awareness. You cannot miss what you never saw. Now let us talk about the second principle of automatic wealth. The latte factor is real, but not in the way you think. Financial gurus love to tell you that if you just stop buying lattes, you will become a millionaire. They show you calculations proving that $5 per day invested over 30 years becomes $200,000. And technically, they are right. But here is what they miss. The latte is not the problem. The decision to buy the latte is the problem. Every day, you stand in front of the coffee shop and have a conversation with yourself. Should I buy this? Can I afford this? Do I deserve this? Is this responsible? This internal dialogue consumes cognitive energy. It activates your prefrontal cortex. It creates stress. And whether you buy the latte or not, you have paid a price. The price of decision-making, the price of internal conflict. The automatic millionaire eliminates this. They build a system where fun money is automated too. Every paycheck, $50 automatically transfers to a guilt-free spending account. That money is for lattes, for movies, for small joys. No questions asked, no guilt required. The latte is not sabotaging your wealth. The daily decision about the latte is sabotaging your peace, so we automate both the saving and the spending. We remove the decision. We build a system where the math has already been done, the priorities have already been set, and the only thing left is living. Let me share the third principle. Complexity is the enemy of execution. The financial industry wants you to believe that wealth building requires sophisticated strategies. They want you to think about asset allocation, tax optimization, rebalancing protocols, international diversification, emerging market exposure, 1,000 variables that might matter at the margins, but are irrelevant to most people. Here is what actually matters. Start. Stay consistent. Stay invested. Wait. That is the whole strategy. For most people, the optimal investment approach is absurdly simple. Automatic contributions to a low-cost, diversified index fund. That is it. Not individual stocks, not actively managed funds, not complex portfolios requiring constant rebalancing, just automatic contributions to an index fund that tracks the market. Why? Because over any 20-year period in stock market history, this approach has never lost money. Over 30-year periods, it has averaged 10% annual returns, and it requires zero skill, zero market timing, zero stock-picking genius. The automatic millionaire does not try to beat the market. They simply capture the market's average returns. And they do it automatically, consistently, without thinking, for decades. This is the wisdom of simplicity. This is the power of removing unnecessary complexity. Now let me address a fear that might be rising in your chest. But what if I cannot afford to save? What if there is nothing left after my expenses? I hear this often, and sometimes it is true. There are people living paycheck to paycheck with genuinely no room for savings, but more often, this is a story we tell ourselves without actually looking at the numbers. So here is what I want you to do. Before you decide you cannot afford to save, I want you to conduct an experiment. Tomorrow, set up an automatic transfer of just $25 per paycheck to a savings account. Just $25. The cost of a couple of takeout meals. And then, watch what happens. I predict you will not notice the difference. Your spending will adjust. You will unconsciously spend $25 less on things you will not remember, things that did not actually matter. And 8 weeks from now, you will have $200 saved. Perhaps the first $200 you have ever saved automatically. And that $200 will teach you something more valuable than I ever could. You are capable of this. The architecture works. The system is stronger than your circumstances. Then, if you truly did not notice the difference, increase it to $50. Then $75. Then whatever percentage feels like a stretch but not a break. The automatic millionaire starts where they are, not where they wish they were, not where they think they should be, where they actually are, and then builds from there. Let me share the fourth principle, and this one might save your financial life. Automate your raises. This is where most people fail, even if they start well. They set up automatic savings of $200 per month. Excellent. Their wealth begins to grow. And then, they get a raise. Their income increases from $50,000 to $55,000. What do most people do with that extra $5,000 per year? They upgrade their lifestyle. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more frequent dining out. The raise disappears into lifestyle inflation, and their savings rate stays frozen at $200 per month forever. The automatic millionaire does something different. They automate the raise. Before the raise arrives, they contact their HR department and say, "Please increase my automatic retirement contribution by 50% of any raise I receive." So when they get that $5,000 raise, $2,500 automatically flows to savings without ever appearing in their checking account. They get to enjoy a lifestyle upgrade with the other $2,500, but they never fall into the trap of upgrading their entire lifestyle to match their income. This is the secret to accelerating wealth. Keep living like you did before the raise and automate the difference to your future. Over a career, this single habit can mean the difference between retiring comfortably and retiring anxiously. Let me introduce the fifth principle. Separate your money into buckets. The automatic millionaire does not have one giant checking account where everything mingles together. They have separate accounts for separate purposes. A checking account for monthly expenses, an emergency fund for unexpected crises, a savings account for short-term goals, an investment account for long-term wealth, a fun money account for guilt-free spending. Each serves a distinct purpose. Each receives automatic deposits, and crucially, each is separate enough that you do not accidentally spend your emergency fund on impulse purchases. This is called mental accounting, and while economists sometimes criticize it as irrational, psychologists understand that it works with human psychology rather than against it. When your wealth is divided into clear buckets, you can see progress in each category. You can enjoy spending from the fun money account without guilt because you know the other buckets are growing automatically. And here is the sixth principle, perhaps the most important of all. Set it up once and then forget it exists. This might sound irresponsible. Surely you should check your accounts regularly. Surely you should monitor your investments. But research consistently shows that people who check their investment accounts more frequently make worse decisions. They panic during downturns. They chase performance during rallies. They buy high and sell low. The opposite of wealth-building wisdom. The automatic millionaire sets up the system and then deliberately does not look at it. For years, sometimes decades. They know that checking creates temptation to tinker, and tinkering usually destroys returns. So they trust the system. They trust the mathematics of compound growth. They trust that the market will rise over time, despite temporary falls. And they live their lives while wealth accumulates in the background. This is not negligence. This is discipline of a different kind. The discipline to leave something alone once it is working. Now let me show you what this actually looks like in practice. Meet Thomas. He is 32 years old. He earns $65,000 per year. Here is what he automated. 15% of his gross income, $812 per month, automatically transfers to his 401k before he ever sees it. 5% of his take-home pay, $200 per month, automatically transfers to an emergency fund. $100 per month automatically goes to a vacation fund for annual trips. $75 per month automatically goes to a guilt-free spending account for lattes, movies, hobbies. Total automated, $187 per month. Roughly 22% of his gross income. What is left? About $3,100 per month for rent, food, utilities, transportation. His normal life expenses. Thomas set this system up in an afternoon, 3 years ago. He has not modified it since. Today his net worth is $118,000. His emergency fund has $7,200. He takes one great vacation per year without stress or debt. He buys his daily coffee without guilt. And here is the crucial part. Thomas is not wealthy by temperament. He is not naturally disciplined. He procrastinates. He binge-watches shows. He forgets to floss. But his wealth does not require his discipline. It requires his system. And the system, once built, runs forever. This is the transformation I am offering you. Not to become a different person, but to build a different architecture. Not to strengthen your willpower, but to eliminate the need for willpower. Not to earn more, but to automatically capture more of what you already earn. Let me ask you something. What would your life look like if money stress disappeared? Not because you won the lottery, not because you inherited wealth, but because you built a system that makes wealth inevitable, slowly, automatically, compounding in the background while you focus on the things that actually matter. What would you do with the cognitive energy currently consumed by financial anxiety? What relationships would deepen? What creative work would emerge? What joy would expand into the space previously occupied by stress? This is not just about money. This is about freedom, about presence, about being able to show up fully in your life because you are not constantly calculating, worrying, second-guessing every financial choice. The automatic millionaire is not rich because they have money. They are rich because they have peace. And that peace, that transformation from chaos to calm, begins with a simple decision. I will build a system. Today. Now. Not perfectly, not completely. But I will start. One automatic transfer. 1% of my income that flows to my future before I see it. One simple system that requires nothing from me except the willingness to set it up. This is the architecture of inevitability. This is the transformation from trying to having. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary wealth, not through heroism, but through humility. Not through effort, but through elegance. The valley lies behind us. The summit awaits. Let us build. Theory is beautiful. Understanding is powerful. But transformation requires action. So now we translate everything we have learned into practical steps you can implement immediately. This is your blueprint for becoming an automatic millionaire. Step 1. Calculate your automatic wealth number. Before you can automate your wealth, you need to know the number. How much as a percentage of your income will you automatically send to your future? Here is the formula. Take your gross annual income, multiply by 0.10 for 10%, 0.15 for 15%, or 0.20 for 20%. That is your annual automatic wealth number. Divide by 12 or 24 or 26, depending on your pay frequency, and you have your per paycheck automatic wealth number. Example, you earn $60,000 per year and choose 15%. $60,000 x 0. 15 for $9,000 per year, $9,000, 24 if paid bi-weekly, I'm worth $375 per paycheck. That $375 will automatically flow to your future, every paycheck forever, until you deliberately change it. Can you not afford 15%? Start with 10%. Cannot afford 10%? Start with 5%. Cannot afford 5%? Start with 1%. The percentage matters less than the automation, because once the system exists, increasing it is trivial. But if the system never exists, you will stay at zero forever. Step 2. Open your automation accounts. You need at minimum 3 accounts: your freedom fund, emergency savings. This is 3 or 6 months of expenses, held in a high-yield savings account. It exists to prevent you from derailing your investments when crisis strikes. Open this at an online bank offering competitive interest rates, currently around 4 to 5% APY. Institutions like Ali, Marcus, or Discover offer excellent options with no fees and no minimums. Your future fund, retirement. This is typically a 401k through your employer or an IRA if you are self-employed, or your employer does not offer a 401k. The advantage of the 401k: contributions are pre-tax, many employers match contributions, and money is locked away, reducing temptation to touch it. If your employer offers a match, money they contribute if you contribute, this is free money. It is the only guaranteed 100% return on investment you will ever find. You must contribute at least enough to capture the full match. Your growth fund, taxable investment account. Once you are maxing out tax-advantaged accounts, or if you want additional flexibility, open a taxable investment account at Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Choose a target date index fund, which automatically adjusts from aggressive to conservative as you age, or a simple total stock market index fund. These 3 accounts, freedom, future, growth, form the architecture of your automatic wealth. Step 3. Automate the flow. Now you connect income to accounts for your 401k. Contact your HR department today. Tell them you want to automatically contribute X% of your paycheck to your 401k. They will handle everything. The money never reaches your checking account. For your IRA or taxable account, set up automatic transfers through your bank. Every payday, X automatically transfers from checking to your investment account. For your emergency fund, same process. Automatic transfer from checking to savings. Every payday, no decisions, no willpower required. You set this up once. It takes perhaps 45 minutes. And then it runs for the rest of your life, or until you consciously decide to change it. Step 4. Automate your bills. The automatic millionaire does not just automate wealth building, they automate everything that can be automated. Why? Because every recurring bill is a decision you have to remember. Every due date is a cognitive burden. Every manual payment is an opportunity for late fees, for forgotten deadlines, for stress. So automate rent or mortgage, utilities, internet, phone, insurance, subscriptions, loan payments. Everything that can be paid automatically should be paid automatically. You set it up once, verify it works for 2 months, and then forget it exists. Your mind is freed from the tyranny of remembering dates and paying bills. Your cognitive energy is liberated for things that actually require thought. Step 5. Build your fun money system. Remember, the automatic millionaire does not live a life of deprivation. They simply separate their fun from their future. Open a separate checking account. Call it your guilt-free spending account. Every payday, automatically transfer a predetermined amount, perhaps $50, $100, $200, whatever fits your budget, to this account. This money is for joy, for coffee, for movies, for spontaneous purchases, for small pleasures. No guilt, no questioning, no tracking. When the money is there, spend it freely. When it is gone, wait for next payday. Simple boundaries, clear freedom within those boundaries. This might seem counterintuitive, automatically allocating money to fun when you are trying to build wealth, but it is psychologically essential. It prevents the deprivation mindset that leads to rebellion and system abandonment. Step 6. The annual architecture review. Once per year, pick a date, perhaps your birthday or January 1st, you review your system. Not to stress, not to micromanage, but to ask 3 questions. Is my automatic savings percentage still appropriate for my current income? Have my life circumstances changed in ways that require system adjustment? Am I on track to reach my long-term goals? This annual review takes perhaps 30 minutes. You adjust if needed. You celebrate progress. And then you return to forgetting the system exists. Step 7. Protect your system from yourself. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The biggest threat to your automatic wealth is you. Not market crashes, not economic recessions. You. Because there will come a moment, perhaps many moments, when you will be tempted to stop the system, to take money out, to temporarily pause your savings because of some expense or desire or crisis. And sometimes, pausing is genuinely necessary. Medical emergencies, true financial catastrophes, these happen. But most of the time, the urge to stop is not necessity. It is fear, impatience, or desire for immediate gratification. So you protect your system by making it difficult to dismantle. Do not link your investment accounts to your checking account for easy transfers. Do not give yourself a debit card for your emergency fund. Do not check your investment balance during market downturns. Tell a trusted friend or partner about your system. Accountability creates resistance to impulsive changes. The automatic millionaire knows. The system is smarter than the momentary emotional self. So they build barriers between their impulsive self and their automated self. Step 8. Understand the power of time. Let me show you something that will change how you see every dollar. If you are 25 years old and you save $5,000 this year in an investment account earning 8% annually, by age 65 that $5,000 will have become $108,622. If you wait until you are 35 to save that same $5,000, it becomes $50,313 by age 65. If you wait until 45, it becomes $23,304. Same money, different time, radically different outcomes. This is the profound inequality of compound growth. Time matters more than money. Starting matters more than perfection. So if you are young, listen carefully. The small amounts you automate now will multiply beyond your imagination. Do not wait for the right time or for when you can afford more. Start now. Start small. Time will do the heavy lifting. And if you are older, listen carefully. It is not too late. You have less time, but you also have more earning power, more wisdom, more clarity about what actually matters. Start now. Start with what you have. Time is shorter, but time still works. Step 9. Plan for the windfalls, tax refunds, bonuses, inheritance, gifts, unexpected income. The automatic millionaire has a system for windfalls too. 50% automatically goes to savings, investment. 25% goes to paying down debt, if any exists. 25% is for celebration, guilt-free, joyful spending. You decide this formula in advance, so when the windfall arrives, there is no decision. The system executes. Your future is funded. Your debt shrinks. Your present gets to celebrate. No guilt, no regret, no internal conflict. Step 10. Extend the system beyond money. Once you have experienced the power of automation in finance, you begin to see that the principle extends everywhere. Automate your health. Schedule workouts in your calendar like appointments. They become non-negotiable. Automate your relationships. Schedule regular calls with loved ones. Schedule date nights with partners. Remove the decision. Automate your learning. Automatically purchase one book per month. Automatically enroll in one course per year. Automate your generosity. Automatically donate a percentage of income to causes you care about. The automatic life is not a passive life. It is a designed life. It is the life that emerges when you make your best decisions once, at your clearest moment, and then trust those decisions to execute forever. Now, let me address the final question I know is churning in your mind. When will I actually see results? When will I feel wealthy? Here is the truth. You will not feel different tomorrow. Next week will look the same. Next month, you might not notice any change. But 6 months from now, you will log into your accounts and see numbers that surprise you. 1 year from now, you will realize you have more savings than you have ever had. 5 years from now, you will have wealth that once seemed impossible. And 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you will look at your net worth and barely recognize the person who started this journey. You will have achieved what motivation never could have achieved. You will have become, without ever trying to become, an automatic millionaire. Not because you were special, because you built something special. Not because you changed, because you created systems that changed your trajectory. The blueprint is complete. The path is clear. The only remaining question is, will you build it? We have traveled far together. We began with a man waking at dawn, determined to change, only to watch his motivation crumble by evening. We journeyed back to the African savannah, understanding why your brain resists the very behaviors that create wealth. We descended into the valley of conflict, confronting the ghosts of decision fatigue, complexity, identity, and lost time. And then, we rose. We discovered the architecture of inevitability. We learned to pay ourselves first, to automate rather than motivate, to build systems that execute while we sleep. We created the blueprint, practical, actionable, implementable today. But now comes the most important part. Now comes the question that will determine whether this was merely information or actual transformation. What will you do tomorrow morning? Will you return to the old patterns, the manual management, the endless cycle of motivation and failure? Or will you spend 45 minutes setting up the systems that will transform your financial life forever? Here is what I know about human nature. Most people will do nothing. They will feel inspired right now. They will intend to take action. They will tell themselves they will do it soon. And then, life will happen. Momentum will fade. And nothing will change. But you listening right now, feeling the possibility stirring in your chest, You can be different. Not because you are more disciplined, but because you are willing to build a system today that requires no discipline tomorrow. Let me leave you with a story. There once was a village at the base of a mountain. At the top of the mountain was a spring of pure, life-giving water. But the path to the spring was treacherous, steep, rocky, exhausting. Every day the villagers would wake with determination. Today, they would say, I will make the climb. I will bring back water. And some days, the strongest among them would succeed. But most days, exhaustion won. Most days, thirst was endured rather than satisfied. Then one villager had a different idea. Instead of making the daily climb, he spent a month building a pipeline, a system of bamboo pipes that carried water from the spring directly to the village. While he built, the other villagers mocked him. Look at him, they said, wasting time on his foolish construction while we are actually getting water. But when the pipeline was complete, everything changed. Water flowed continuously, effort became unnecessary. While the villagers still climbed each day, this man's family, and eventually the entire village, enjoyed abundance without strain. You are at a choice point. You can keep climbing, keep relying on motivation, keep manually managing, keep exhausting yourself, and occasionally reach the spring. Or you can build the pipeline. The automatic millionaire is the pipeline builder. They invest time once to create a system that delivers forever. They understand that true wealth is not about how much you earn or how disciplined you are. It is about the architecture you build. So here is my invitation. Not a command, not a demand, but an invitation. Tomorrow, before you check social media, before you watch a show, before you do anything else, spend 45 minutes building your pipeline. Open the accounts, set up the transfers, automate the flow. You will not feel transformed immediately. You will not suddenly feel wealthy. But you will have done something most people never do. You will have chosen your future self over your present self. You will have built a system that works even when you do not. And years from now, decades from now, when you look at your wealth and wonder how it happened, you will remember this moment, this decision, this choice to stop trying harder and start building better. The automatic millionaire is not born. They are built, one decision, one system, one automated transfer at a time. And that building, that transformation, begins now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the time is right. Now. Because the future you are waiting for is not coming. The future is being built by the decisions you make today. The question is, are you building the future you want or the future you fear? I believe you are ready. I believe you can do this. Not because you are exceptional, but because the system is. Not because you are stronger than others, but because you are wise enough to build something stronger than willpower. The automatic millionaire is waiting. Not out there, not in some distant future, but in the decision you make right now to automate your first transfer, to pay yourself first, to build the architecture of inevitability. Your wealth is not dependent on the market. It is not dependent on the economy. It is not dependent on your discipline. It is dependent on your system. Build the system. Trust the system. Let the system run. And watch, with patience, with peace, with profound trust in mathematics and time, as you become what you once thought impossible, an automatic millionaire, not through heroism, through humility, not through effort, through elegance, not through transformation, through architecture. This is your moment. This is your choice. This is your beginning. Welcome to the rest of your life. Welcome to wealth that builds while you sleep. Welcome, automatic millionaire, home. The journey is complete, but the building, the real building, is just beginning. Go now, automate your first transfer, and begin the transformation that requires nothing from you except the wisdom to trust the system you create today. Thank you for traveling with me. May your wealth grow automatically, your stress diminish continuously, and your life expand infinitely. This is Psychology Infinite, where understanding meets transformation, where wisdom meets action, where the life you dream of becomes the life you build. Until we meet again.